So it seems my suspicion was correct concerning Super Mario Bros. Movie, that the film would deliver. That was my presumption given how potent of an EP, or not EP, an IP that Mario is. And I also say this, from the perspective of somebody who would love to get into more Mario stuff. I watch like half these YouTube streams, especially on like Mario Kart from channels that I follow, and it's like, you guys seem like you're having such fun experiences playing live. It's like, I would love to have that, though I don't have a Switch. I'm working on it. Although, like these days, I still have to get a PlayStation, I still have to work on getting the new Xbox console. It's just money, money, money. Anyway, it like feels like I'm chucking it right and left out these days. But with Mario, I do have at least some familiarity. By comparison to many of you gamers and those of you who grew up with Mario extensively, definitely not as much. I'm severely lacking, but I think back like to when I was a kid and I didn't grow up with video games and stuff on PC. Like I had no consoles growing up. Yes, I would have liked to have them be different strands to a childhood if I could rewind time and change things as an adult. But as a kid, I think back to, for example, maybe my semblances of experiences of Mario, like when I was in the 4th grade, I had a friend of mine, good friend, in fact. I haven't talked to him in a number of years, and I should, but I sometimes went to his house, and he had, Super Mario in his room, and we played that on occasion. I was part of a small group through a church I was going to when I was 15, 16, maybe. It was a small guys group. 16, 17, I forget my age. Anyway, it's so many years ago at this point, but on occasion, Super Smash Brothers is more their thing, and that's a fun game, but we did Mario Kart occasionally. Mario is quite a fun game, in terms of a brand, and I know how potent the appeal is. Again, as somebody who's not even familiarized with every facet to the universe of Mario, it seems to be, at least I've heard chatter, and that's what this is developing into. But it's at least Universal's, I think it's, Illumination. I think it'll be Universal, I forget, but it's Illumination's ambition. I'm not surprised that Mario has seemed to gel well with audiences, and it's seriously made some bank. The present moment of when I'm covering this. Now, I will say again, like most of my content, I am very late on the scene, and I do apologize. It's not my intention to be so late. I'm trying to work on getting caught up, but I've been meaning to engage this movie for some time, especially since from what I've heard, it makes sense why it has wide appeal, not just in the Mario branding, but also its casting attributions. Chris Pratt, I love Chris Pratt. Anya Taylor-Joy's in this, Jack Black, and there's many more names beyond that. Key and Peele, I forget, Mike, what's the guy's name? Anyway, he's in this too. I like him as a comedian. This is a very strong and robust cast to me. And from what I've heard, this film is also very family-friendly and is, in the minds of some, being substantial competition for Disney. And some of us are definitely rooting that on, especially since Disney has lost their family-friendly brand image. Though they like to tout that out. It's not felt in delivery or sentiment. And by comparison, Mario's like, here, we're going to do you what you should be, what old Disney was. And I think it's succeeding quite well for... I know Illumination's a pretty strong studio as well, creatively speaking, from their film offerings, but I've been very impressed with what I've heard about Mario and the semblance of dialogue I've heard about it. I've been meaning to engage with the film for some time. Ideally, it would have been in advance of its debut date. I'm here now, though, to do it with the entire collection of trailers, it seems, quite a good number, starting off with the, fittingly, teaser trailer. Let's get a good perspective of this film, especially as somebody who, from my perspective, and I'm just going to boldly state, because I know some, without naming names, I know some critics have gotten in trouble about this, and I know the critics are kind of shedding some mean stares toward Mario's way. I'm stating outright to be as honest as possible. I don't have the familiarity that everybody else does, but I do, at least in consideration of Mario, I try and think back as best I can to those moments of my childhood where I did have at least some introduction, and they were fun plays. But I will be very fair, and if I have to offer any criticism, which I don't think I will, let's see, because I know the trailer's gotten a good reception, and the movie has spoken to that as well. With critics, not so much. Not a shocker. Anyway, plus I put more stock anyway these days in audience members anyway. The critics are seemingly meaningless to me. Not always, but most of the time. Engage with me from the perspective of somebody, again, who just does not have the extensive familiarity that everybody else does, but has the ambition to dig deeper. Experience Mario with me on fresh eyes. If perhaps it's you. Maybe you haven't watched these trailers yet. Maybe you have. I'm assuming most of you have. Because again, I'm so late. Anywho, I'm working on it. Let's look at it for the first time. Hey, that's pretty. Engaging animation. Definitely fits an Illumination's forte. Okay. This is a browser bot or something? I'm just guessing. Or is it Bowser or Browser? Animation-wise, I mean... Yes, amen. Give Disney a run for their money, and they certainly are. Just make fun and engaging entertainment, and this absolutely qualifies.
Open the gates!
If I didn't know better, I'd say for a minute, like, is this Angry Birds? I'm kidding.
That is but a taste of our fury. Do you yield? I do not.
Nice scripting. Meshes well in tone to some of her types of projects while painting it more in a comedic direction. It's similar line work and other fantasy type stories, but it's fun.
I finally found it. Now who's gonna stop me?
Oh, how cute.
What is this place?
Visually attractive. Is Chris Pratt doing an accent?
Do not touch that mushroom, you'll die! Oh, I'm sorry. That one's perfectly fine. Come on, Mario!
I need to hear Chris Pratt's...
Kingdom, here we come.
So funny, he is. He's quite a versatile actor, my opinion. That looks very strong. Keegan-Michael Key, that's his name. See, that looks like a lot of fun. That looks like a film that I would watch. And again, like I said, from my impression of what I've heard, this is a very strong film with families. And apparently it's incredibly appropriate. So if you're looking for family-friendly releases these days, Mario is up to your alley. It's very engaging. Good first teaser. Definitely more of like a cutscene type material. I guess it's setting us in the mood of Mario while it was still in development or being worked on. I imagine it's probably near completion at the time of that trailer debuted. But good first introduction, highly engaging. And again, as somebody who's not even familiarized with the material, right? Like I said, is it Browser or Bowser? I think it's Bowser. I don't know. Again, I'm being honest here in my angle of how I'm approaching this to give you a fair take. I don't have the most extensive library of knowledge of Mario, and I still find this equally attractive. You know, it's a good comedy movie. It has good scripting as well on part. It mimics other types of fantasy projects, but it's fun, and the animation is like high caliber quality. I mean, Illumination has gotten their regard in the past, and I'm tempted to say Disney's gotten dethroned. Certainly on quality, and it seems on efficacy at the box office. They would kill for that cash, I'm sure. Anywho, if they haven't learned their lessons yet, I mean, that investor call should have taught them a lot. Anywho, maybe Mario will be a nice second helping. Anywho, here we go. Let's take a look at the second trailer. Beautiful colorful palette, by the way. It definitely feels diversified in regards to its varied elements of the Mario world. It doesn't feel limited in any way. It feels like almost you're watching the adaptation of the game.
Oh my god, okay.
Not sure if you know who I am, but I'm about to rule the world.
Wow, yay.
But there's one problem. There's a human, has a mustache, just like you.
Do you think I know every human being with a mustache wearing an identical outfit with a hat with the letter of his first name on it? Because I don't.
Chris Pratt sounds a lot to me like Mario. I mean, that laugh was specific.
Together, we
from what I've heard.
are going to stop that monster.
How? Look at us. We're adorable.
Oh, I got this.
Yes, you are. Yeah, it really is like an adaptation of the game.
Yes.
Come on, Mario! Our big adventure begins now!
huge universe out there. With a lot of galaxies.
This looks fantastic.
They're all
A lot of galaxies in my head. I'm like, okay, now spin-offs. Here we go, another cinematic universe. Another one. But one thing could probably make a lot of bank with the family audience and adult fans. I mean, I see a future for Mario. Like I said, Chris Pratt is such a wonderful draw. And Anya Taylor-Joy, too. Anya Taylor-Joy, I love her as an actress. She's extremely talented. A little while ago, I may mention this before, I watched a very different movie from Mario, of course, in tone. Last Night in Soho. She was freaking fantastic in that movie. Loved her in that. In every project I've seen with her. So seeing her in a kid's movie, though, is a bit different. Right? But she fits in quite well here. I think everybody does. And Chris Pratt, who does... Well, I know he's got his detractors on Twitter, but a lot of the crap they sometimes make up is just so asinine and stupid that Chris Pratt is like everybody's favorite actor. He's such a reasonable guy. And I've said many times, I've seen plenty of projects of him, and he's an attractive talent as well, just based on his merits, and he's very strong in the comedy space, and as a Christian, I have a fellow Christian, I have a lot of respect for him being a very outspoken, respectable presence in the Hollywood scene. You can't always say that about maybe celebrities, but Chris Pratt is just... He's an exquisite actor, extremely talented. I've been a longtime fan of his, and I will continue to be. And I think most of the audience, it's funny, for all the detraction points and the crap people still try and bring up to this day, that is ridiculous and so misguided, and it's total misinformation. And I don't use that word that often, but in that case it is. Most of it's Twitter drama. His box office returns still make a lot of money. Look at Jurassic World, Dominion. That didn't necessarily have the best reception in regards to perhaps critical opinion, but again, I only give the critics so much stock, especially these days. The audience, as far as I'm concerned, has a little more validity. And that film went on to make $1 billion, even despite some of the more disconcerting remarks. The guy can still sell tickets. He attracts an audience, and I'm sure he will with this. His personality, the laughs are so perfect. Even though the accent I'm going to have to get used to. That is very much Mario. Very faithfully done, quite tasteful, I think, for... I mean, again, I'm not going to impose myself in the position of being like, I know what the fans are thinking, but as somebody who's very familiarized to family-friendly content and the family audience, in terms of a background as well from many projects I've seen as animation, even along the illumination lines, this appears to me like quite a high-quality work that is easily attractive. I would imagine every Mario fan is going to be like, I need to go watch this. And they bring up even images of the game in the picture. Like, it's so well encapsulated as this tight package, right? If you like the game, or even if it's just a nostalgic journey for you that you had moments in your life that you engaged with it, just based on the opportunity, you can still find enjoyment here, I think. And they're definitely, like I said, giving Disney a run for their money. All right, final trailer, though. Good picture so far. I'm highly engaged. Let's look at one more. I like to get a full perspective of the films I consult. And so far, I've got a very positive opinion on Mario.
Where am I?
Ooh, fresh meat for the grinder.
Pay him no heed.
That's such a dark line for a kid's movie.
Gotta be a way out.
There's no escape.
And I like it. It's obviously being played for you in comedic relief.
Whoa! Oh, you've got to be kidding me. My army! Koopas! Goombas! Whatever those things are! We will destroy the Mushroom Kingdom!
Bowser is coming.
I'm not afraid. I'll do anything for my brother.
We're going to save him.
They all the sound effects in there again. Like I said, this is like the perfect Mario movie in my opinion. This feels that way.
Here we go!
Again, they just have so much of the Mario world,
Let's end this.
and it's beautifully adapted in. Like, it feels like you're playing the game. I feel like I'm watching one of the live streams I normally watch right now of all these people playing Mario Kart together. Or I'm thinking back to when I was a kid, my brief moments of it in the guys group. It was like a lot of fun, you know. I'm definitely going to try and see it. I mean, I admittedly don't make it to the theaters as much these days. Just everything costs so much now, and it's just, my life is so busy. Anyway, and plus I'm behind half the time in consulting the projects I'd like to go watch in theaters. So I'm like, well, I'm delayed on that front. Anyway, I will definitely try and make an effort. And if not, I will 100% watch this on streaming. I imagine if anybody else is in my position, because there are probably plenty of people who maybe are facing dilemmas of getting to the theater these days. So again, that's not necessarily stopped people from jumping when they can to go watch Mario. In fact, I was in the theater the other day. It was on Easter. I just left. I take a, side story. I'll keep it short. But, you know, church every Sunday, especially on Easter, right? I regularly take a town walk, and I'm out there for about an hour or so, and I'll just walk down the streets and such. And I normally will just walk through the mall. Like in that day, it was raining. I don't mind walking in the rain, but sometimes you like to dry off, right? So I walk in, and on Easter, understandably, most of the businesses are all closed, except for the movie theater. And I don't know what everybody was watching, but there were a lot of family audiences there, like parents with their children, and probably some of their friends. I mean, I don't know. There were a lot of people at the theater that day on Easter. It's like, okay, this is really interesting. I wonder why. I'm honestly thinking it's probably Mario. I would not be surprised. I mean, I don't know what's available currently in competitive releases, if there's any ever film or family films that are trying to get that level of engagement. But it was very interesting to me to be like, you know, everybody's here on a holiday, no less. Right? Maybe they just left, some of them left church as well. So like, now we're going to go watch Mario. I mean, I don't know. But I don't even know what movie they were seeing for sure. But it was very interesting to me. I'm like, why specifically all these family audiences? And keeping in conjunction the what we know about the finances thus far and what Mario has earned, I would suspect that this is doing very well for the family demographic. I sense that again when I watch these trailers, that is its core appeal, as well as Mario fans. It's an extremely engaging release, in my opinion. So even if, again, I have to stay up front, I don't have this extensive library of knowledge on Mario. I feel like I know enough to go in where it's not a totally disruptive release where I'm like, oh, you know, I don't necessarily know what's playing out here. And I have a question for those of you as well who have, again, I so apologize for having this out late. I intended to have this out earlier. In fact, I had scheduled to cover it much earlier than I did today. On April 13th. God, I'm behind on everything. I would question, and if anybody's willing to entertain me with your response, for anyone who's watched Mario, how open is it to somebody who is not as knowledgeable, right? I have childhood experiences I can fall back on, but they're small bites in moment sizes compared to many of you, I'm sure, that play Mario on a regular basis, and maybe you grew up with the games. What were your thoughts on it for someone like me? Is it a project that, story-wise, I'm going to be able to engage with better? Right? I would imagine, again, like I said, family films have broad appeal, but is it very specific? How open is it, right, to someone like me, who does not have that extensive amount of knowledge where I'd be able to be like, oh, there's an Easter egg there, or a connection there, like, you know what I mean? I'd love to hear feedback on that down below. But 100%, I'm open to this. I am absolutely jiving with Mario in terms of a must-watch. Again, Chris Pratt and the ever-talented here, Chris Pratt, though, especially, and Anya Taylor-Joy, to be fair, as well, immediate attraction points where I'm like, I have to watch it. Even if in some parts, maybe a form, hey, I'm nicer than giving public middle fingers, but like to all those haters on Twitter who still go after Chris Pratt mercilessly, I'm like, you know what, yes, here's $1 I'm going to go pay his, it's more than $1 for a movie ticket, but like, I'm going to go throw some money to Mario, right? Cry about it. I don't know. I kind of like pissing people off, especially when it comes to unreasonable hatred, especially what's been thrown Chris Pratt's way. The guy is like man's man in Hollywood, and he's such a great talent. And him as Mario, I find quite funny. Again, that accent is just hilarious. It really went deep. I'm game. Even if whatever the circumstances happens to be in regards to how I watch this movie, whether it be I want to see it in theaters, but if it's on streaming, if that's my circumstances and what I'm given by life, it seems, 100% I'm watching this. 100%. Especially, it's kind of fun as well to watch, you know, a family film that, from what I've heard, is extremely palatable to general audiences. It's nice to see a film succeed that's rather clean in presentation by comparison to where other studios are faltering. Disney. I like how Mario's like, hey, screw off. We're better than you now. We've got the family audience. And you're like, yeah, you do. I find Mario quite attractive as a Super Mario Brothers. It's very attractive to a film. And as a universe builder, I think it's certainly got legs. There were shades of that painted in the trailer. Like, oh, we've got spin-offs we can do or whatever. I forget what they said, but it's like, yep, there we go. Another cinematic universe. But maybe one that I'd be willing to entertain in more depth and one that has a lot more life, especially with the family audience. That could bring in a lot of cash for Illumination. It already is a Super Mario. We'll have to see where this one goes in its future, but I'm really curious to see the growth with this franchise, and I think it does have that. And in the territory of video game adaptations, we can't always speak to projects on the, merit of success. This one has it. Mario's done very well so far, and I'm sure it will continue to. And when I get to engage with it, I'm sure I will have nothing but a positive response. Thank you so much for watching this video. Before you bounce, feel free to drop a like and comment, subscribe to this channel with a ding on the bell, and share this video with your friends. And consider checking out the description here. There you'll find links to my other channels, as well as addresses to my other social media accounts and ways you can help support my work if you feel so inclined. May God bless you, and looking forward to when our paths cross again.